Good morning and welcome to another Gribley's Folly Sunday Antisocial Hour. That time each week when I smoke my pipe and complain about humanity while answering its questions. It's going to be a big one this week. Buckle up. Good morning and welcome to another Gribley's Folly Sunday Antisocial Hour. That time each week when I smoke my pipe and complain about humanity while answering its questions. It's going to be a big one this week. Buckle up. First, the housekeeping, shall we? I am smoking in my Savinelli Capri Root Briar, which was a gift from Amy Mack, R.I.P. Amy Mack's pipe channel. I'm smoking Old Limey Bastard, and it's delicious. And while I'm on the subject, there was an Ask Gribs to Ask Derek Tant question this week, and the questioner was me, and I asked Derek Tant, is it true that darker coffees actually have less caffeine? He says, yes, that's true. Is it true that all decaf coffees suck? If you're just tuning in, you've probably seen yesterday my video, that was last week, my video in which I was drinking decaf coffee and talking about my trip to Washington, and that wasn't even coffee. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't coffee. So I asked Derek Tant, what do I have to do to drink coffee without getting so wired up that I can't sleep at night? And he didn't, he doesn't really give straight answers. He said something about pneumonia coffee. I don't know, whatever. Thanks, Derek. So while we're doing housekeeping, you should check out the video right before this one, which came out yesterday, December 1st. That is the video describing my 3-year anniversary giveaway. I'm so excited to be bringing you my tooth money. For those of you who don't know, I had a tooth extracted. It was gold, and I sold it at a gold buyer's office, gold buyer's den, gold buyer's lair. I don't know. I sold it to pay for the giveaway because I'm broke, right? So I need that little bit of it's like selling plasma to pay for your pipe tobacco giveaway. So the gold buyer thing was a really interesting experience. Excuse me. OLB for the win. So I went to this guy's office, right? I called him first and I was like, hey, I have a dental crown to sell. It's still got parts of my tooth attached to it. Does that bother you? And he was like, no, if it's gold, I'll buy it. And I was like, are you sure? Because they're bloody. He was like, if it's gold, I'll buy it. I'm like, okay, cool. So his office was close to my kid's preschool. So dropped the kid off, went to the office, and I don't know why I had this in my mind, but I was expecting kind of like a pawn shop sort of situation where there's like gold watches and silver rings and stuff like that under a counter, and there's a guy with a loop like looking at things. And that was not what it was like at all. It was more like I would imagine the lobby, the waiting area looked like outside the office in the Saudi consulate where Khashoggi was murdered. The blinds were closed. It was like this nice office storefront. The blinds were closed. I had to be buzzed in. There were cameras all over the place. And the guy was working with a customer, I think it was a customer. Excuse me. That is not decaf coffee. That is Medaglia d'Oro, and it's good. So he was working with the customer. The customer was wearing fatigues. He had a giant bushy red beard, and I think he had one of those like commie military hats on, like the Castro hats or the Che hat, whatever. You know what I'm talking about. So, and they were like, he was like, I'll be right with you. I just got to help this guy first. And I was like, I think this guy's here to rob you. I don't think you should. Be careful. But then they went into this back room, and as they went into this back room, the customer kind of jumped and looked to his right, and I heard the guy say, oh yeah, I just dress him up and keep him around to scare bad guys if they break in. And I'm like, what? So later when he took me back down the hall, I looked and there was like one of those martial arts punching dummies that have the like angry face that's like 7 feet tall, and it was all dressed up in fatigues. It's standing like right to the side of like where you walk in, it's like right behind you. Okay, so that's interesting. So he takes the customer back. I'm sitting there. I'm like sitting in an armchair right, next to this bookcase. And I start looking at the books on the bookcase, and it's full of like crazy, crazy gold bug libertarian philosophy. Basically, like all these books on how Lincoln was a tyrant and why the South was right, and then the American military's heroin trade in Afghanistan and why the government is. I mean, just like I'm one of those guys, right? Well, no, I don't think the South was not right. Let's stop right here. We'll go on a little tangent. I was born and raised in the Deep South, right? My father's epitaph on his tombstone is the state motto of South Carolina. Like that's where I come from. The South was not right. It wasn't. I'm sorry. If it was, I would say it, but it's not. The South was not right. So anyway, I can't get behind that. Maybe I could get behind some of the war for profit kind of stuff. The heroin trade. I don't know much about the heroin trade. Anyway, I'm looking at this guy's books and I realize, oh, he's a crazy person. So what do you do when you're in the office of a crazy person and you feel awkward? You look at your phone, right? So I'm like looking at my phone, and then every now and then I would like look up, and he would say from the back, "Hey, I'll be with you in just a second." Okay, cool. And then I would look up, and he would say, "Hey, I'm almost done." Okay, cool. And then I was like, "Wait a minute, he can't see me. How does he know that I'm like looking bored and looking up from my phone?" He was watching me on the cameras. So he dismisses his other customer. No, this is the whole point of the story. I could hear what they were saying. I could hear, well, sort of. I could hear muddled conversation. And what I gathered was that the customer had to sell some gold because his life was ruined because of his involvement with the CIA in Botswana. I don't know where Botswana is, and I don't know why the CIA would have an interest there. But I really feel for the guy, No, I don't. He's obviously crazy. He's never been to Botswana. What the hell? So I'm like listening to this, and I'm like slowly thinking, maybe I shouldn't do this. Maybe I should find a nice pawn shop to sell my tooth. And then the guy like kicks the customer out. Not really, but the customer comes out in a huff. And but the point was the guy was like agreeing with him. He was like, "Oh yeah, the CIA in Botswana, they did some terrible things in Botswana." What the fuck is going on here? So the customer comes out, the guy calls me back, he takes my tooth, and he's like, "Well, I can't take it with all the human remains in it." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, you said you could over the phone." And he's like, "Oh yeah, well, let me just go smash him out with a hammer." And I'm like, okay. And so he goes and like wails on my tooth with a hammer, comes back, rubs it on some sandpaper, drops some chemicals on it, looks at it with a microscope, and then he's like, "Yeah, I'll give you $65." And at that point I'm like, sold. That is how I was able to afford my 3rd anniversary giveaway, and now I'm going to give away some answers to your burning questions. If you have a question, leave it in the comments below with the hashtag AskGribbs, and I will answer any question. All right, let's get to it. Northern Bohemian, did your green vomit come from those haunted... did you see that? Almost fell into a Norbo accent. Did your green vomit come from those haunted steps or that motel breakfast? I'm pretty sure that if I had vomited green vomit, you would not see any videos from me because I would still be in the ICU. Like, there's no way I could projectile vomit anything green and be out of the hospital in a week. Like, I would be like, "No, you have to keep me here until you figure out what that was." Curiously, Norbo, you'll get a kick out of this. Demon possession is on the rise. I have never personally been possessed by a demon, nor have I ever really... I might have known one person that was possessed by a demon. I won't get into that. But it is on the rise. And I really feel like this should be treated the same way, depression or alcoholism. These types of things are treated. I think there should be a possessed support group, demon possessed support group, and they should meet, right? They should all get together and twirl their heads around and spit their green vomit, and then every year they could have a convention on the exorcist steps, and that would keep those people from exercising and making me feel bad for not exercising. I got a lot of interesting comments on my thoughts about going to DC, which is a bigger city than I'm used to. I know it's not a big city, but much bigger than what I am used to. Scott Woodard says, "I think the urban-rural dichotomy is not an issue of size or economy, but a factor of energy. At this stage of my life, late mid-60s, I am much more comfortable with the psychic and civic energy of a community the size of Portland than of a bigger city with all their busyness, than of bigger cities with all their busyness and higher levels of energy. Yes, I am a lower energy person. I don't know if you can tell, but I never get wound up about anything. I'm always calm and collected, and I don't like big cities. So, point proven. Typing Piper, hashtags, ask Gribbs. There's a famous study that was done years ago about the difference between city and country. I believe it's called the City Mouse and the Country Mouse. Check it out. No, I'm too lazy to check it out, Typing Piper. I'm sorry, I'll just move on to your next question. Talk about Black Friday. Oh boy. I worked in retail for 10 years. So there's that. And I was raised in a Christian household by an actual Christian pair of parents, and not what passes for Christians in pop culture, right? In our modern lexicon. So I don't want to offend anybody here. I really don't. But I'm going to say some things that are probably going to offend some people. Black Friday is not. This is the kind of, I hate saying this, but I mean it in the most literal way possible. Black Friday is unchristian. It is not. It does not fit with the values of Christianity, and that irks me. Not because I think things must be Christian, and it's certainly not from a theocratic perspective at all, but more from the sense of we're doing this as part of a quote-unquote Christian holiday, right? Like, we're all buying Christmas presents on Black Friday, right? So, what the fuck? I don't know if it's like this in other countries, so for my international viewers, I will explain. Black Friday in America means everyone gets up at 3 in the morning and they go wait in line at Walmart, and then they fight each other, literally fight each other for good deals on cheap consumer electronics. That's it, right? I mean, would anyone like to add anything to that? Am I missing something? Am I missing some appeal here? So my brother-in-law's ex-wife. This is a really dangerous video. My brother-in-law's ex-wife loved Black Friday. She is of the pop culture Christian type. Like, she would be more concerned about, for example, drinking alcohol being unchristian, even though Jesus turned the water into wine and all that. Anyway, she would be more concerned about that than she would about the obsessive urge for possessions being unchristian. And like I said, I'm talking about this from a literal perspective. I'm not saying people that shop on Black Friday are sinners. But from a literal, these are the values that Christ espoused, right? What the hell are we doing here? Christ never said anything about drinking, but he said plenty about not valuing possessions over other human beings. So that is my at its base, that is my thing with Black Friday. But then my other thing is, it's just stupid. It's stupid. As a consumer, if you go shopping on Black Friday, you're doing exactly what they want you to do to make money off of you. From working in retail, this is apocryphal, but they always told us that the reason it's called Black Friday is that's when most retail businesses get in the black for the year. They lose money all year long and then make it up in the holidays. And I think that's probably still the case. I don't know if that's literally why it was called Black Friday. But anyway, it's a terrible buying decision because there's no such thing as a free lunch. And if rules to live by, there's no such thing as a free lunch. If it didn't make money for a business, they wouldn't do it. They're making more money by giving you those deals. You think you're getting a good deal, but then you buy a bunch of other crap because they lured you in there at 4 in the morning, and by 6 in the morning, you really don't want to do any more shopping. You're like, I'm just going to get everything here, so I don't have to do this anymore, because shopping sucks, right? So you actually spend more money than you otherwise would have. This is why Black Friday is Black Friday. It's why it works. It's why I don't know what people are thinking when they think that it's their own decision to go shopping at 4 in the morning on Black Friday. My brother-in-law's ex-wife's mom worked at Walmart and would come home just looking like someone had beat her half to death, right? And her daughter still wanted to go to Walmart and shop on Black Friday. Like, I see what this is doing to you, Mom. I see the stress of retail at the holidays making you, old beyond your years. And yet, I could get that flat screen TV for like $300. Now, I'm not saying I don't believe in gift giving or having nice things or anything like that. And I think it's great that we give gifts on Christmas. I think that the the planners of Christianity, the folks over the years who made up, man, I'm really stepping on toes in this video. Sorry, y'all. Who guided early Christians and mid Christians up to contemporary Christians. Those folks, one of the mistakes they made was really emphasizing the gift giving aspect of Christmas. I think it should be the kind of thing where you come over to someone's house for Christmas and you say, "Here, I brought you a cake." Or I brought you a chocolate. Or you know what, you're my loved one, and I know that you're really into fly fishing, so here's a gift card to the fly fishing shop for $50 or something like that. Like that, I think would be the appropriate level of gift giving. I've been at some family Christmases of extended family that were more affluent. And more interested in this sort of thing. It's not that my parents couldn't have. I mean, my parents gave me great gifts when I was a kid, but it was very much, here's a gift. Here is your gift for Christmas. Not here is your pile of gifts for Christmas. And that's one thing I'm trying to work on with my son. It's like, here is a gift for Christmas. Here's 2 gifts for Christmas. Maybe 3. We'll stop there. We're not going to spend a month's salary on gifts for our 4-year-old, 3-year-old, almost 4. It's just keeping the balance there. But I understand why it happened that way and that it fit very well with capitalism, and that's why Christmas is what it is today. But I think it's really unfortunate. Let's move on, shall we? Because I have some gloating to do. I need to gloat with Beerbeard. Beerbeard asks, what continent do you think gave birth to the continental breakfast? And that's a multifaceted answer, Beerbeard, but you should know that the continental breakfast is a British term, and it refers to the light style of breakfast that was eaten on the European continent. So when you say, oh, our hotel has a continental breakfast, what that's really saying is, yeah, we'll give you some scrambled eggs and get you out the door. We're not going to feed you the full English breakfast, right? So, you could say that it was the British Isles that gave birth to the term continental breakfast. Do you think people that live there yearn for something different? I don't know. Do you think that people in Europe yearn for a heavier breakfast? I don't think so, because don't they eat like 4 dinners after midnight or something? Is that just Spain? Where is it that they do that? Anyway, Beerbeard, this was one piece of Anglo trivia that I knew that you didn't because I Googled it. But whatever, that's not the point. Thanks for your question. Northern Bohemian asks, are you aware of a good digital stereo camera? I bought some film last year for my stereo camera. I think half the roll remains. Kodachrome is gone. They took it away. I'm told that the modern E6 won't turn green like the stuff I grew up with. Modern E6 is very good. I know what you're talking about, and it's really more of a yellow than a green. I have some Agfachrome transparencies from the 30s and 40s, and they are super green, but it's actually yellow. When you dissect it in the CMYK color space, it's actually yellow. Anyway, yeah, modern E6 is a lot better. I would look into. I mean, honestly, here's the thing, and this is the thing. I don't know of a good digital stereo camera. Most people watching this will not know what a stereo camera is, but it's this camera that took the same picture from 2 different perspectives. And then when you look at the picture, you use an apparatus like 3D glasses kind of thing, but you look down into this thing that shows you the 2 different pictures, and you look at them with each eye independently, and it looks really cool. It's three-dimensional. And the best example I've ever seen of this, and I made copies of all of these photos, was a stereoscopic box set of photos from World War I. It was amazing. But I don't know of a good digital stereo camera. I don't know of any. And it would seem to me like the best way to do it would honestly be to somehow tether two separate cameras together and put them on a rig. But the problem with a lot of photography is no one wants to participate in the infrastructure, right? No one wants to go out and buy the apparatus and buy the prints that you would have to use to look at. I guess you could look at it on a screen. I don't know. It seems like that would give you a lot of eye strain. But it's the same reason you don't hang photos in your house anymore, right? Because or you might hang your family photos, but you're not gonna be looking through National Geographic and say, I want a print of that shot hanging in my house, or I want this artistic print hanging in my house, because we don't want. I mean, this print back here, no one wants it. No one wants it. It's a great print. I don't want it. Do anybody out there want it? You got to pay shipping because it's going to cost like $200 to get it to you. That's the problem with these things. And so we're moving as a species away from media, from communication media that requires a lot of effort. And stereoscopic photography requires a lot of effort on the front end and the back end. So good luck with that. Ask Gribbs to ask Derek Tant. This is still Norbo. Norbo wanted me, after answering this question, Norbo wanted me to ask Derek Tant if he had any idea what that is about. Don't worry, there's nothing to photograph in West Texas anyway. Norbo. Cobbett of the Shire asked Gribbs, weren't you afraid that the security men would mistake you for a terrorist while you were keeping your face covered? No, I was not. I was a little taken aback that there were men with rifles, automatic rifles, guarding the White House in full public view. I mean, I know there's always been men with automatic rifles guarding the White House, but like in public, I think that treads a little too far for me. That's my house. That's my house. I paid for that. We all paid for that. It's a little bit, Cheyenne Mountain, whatever. But when a civilian president has to make that, I'm not blaming Trump for this because it was pre-Trump that it became standard operating. I think it was Obama that became standard operating procedure. When a civilian president has to make that sort of show of force, yeah. Also, I was interested to note that one of these guys, I only saw two of them because I didn't stay long. I only saw two of them. One of them was carrying an AR of some sort, and one of the guys had an MP5. And I thought that was interesting that there wasn't a standard White House guarding weapon. I didn't know if the guys were from two different agencies or whatever. But it seems to me like, the National Mall is a big open place. Like, I don't know why you'd want an MP5. Whatever. Maybe he was like the pinch hitter that, the normal dude with his AR-15 was called in sick that day or something. But yeah, I was, it did, it crossed my mind. Oh, I'm walking around here with a mask over my face. But there were so many people out there doing all kinds of crazy stuff. I don't think they cared about me very much. Derek Tant says, Happy Thanksgiving. Sorry, Mr. Tant, I do not respond to spam comments. Beard, ask Gribbs, would it be unfair to describe you as a misanthrope? I don't know about unfair, maybe inaccurate. I don't think that I hate humanity. I'm just really disappointed in it. That's mostly it. I complain about humanity while answering its questions, right? There's a give and take there. All right, Beard also asked Gribbs, do you think Trump eats Pop-Tarts? Any other POTUS you think might have? That's interesting because I'm pre-recording this on Saturday, and George H.W. Bush just died. And I always pegged him as a Pop-Tart guy, There was just something about him. He didn't seem to have any pretense, Pop-Tarts are a very simple thing, a simple pleasure in life. And I think H.W. would have been the Pop-Tart president. Trump, no, I think he's more of a greasy sausage kind of president. He likes sausages because that that kind of fits with his fingers. Tiny little hands. Mike H says it's called an assault pack. This is on my hike up the mountain, and I was talking about the pack that I carry. It's called an assault pack because of the 2 to 3 day utility of it for missions in Iraq and Afghanistan. Yeah, I know, but like I am not on a mission in Iraq or Afghanistan, and I understand that's why it was popularized, but I just feel that we do ourselves a disservice when we bring these terms along with the concepts and the gear and the ideas. Just call it a light day pack, and that makes you seem a lot less crazy. If you're of the prepping outdoorsy type, I think that we preppers for sure. I don't know about outdoorsy people. And as I was talking about in that video, there's a real dichotomy between like the ultralight backpacker and the prepper, and so I think that the preppers we would just get along a lot better if we left that sort of terminology to the military. Francis Barnett asks Gribbs, punching an inanimate object is all well and good, but would you, in the words of Scott Walker's song, Jolson and Jones, punch a donkey in the streets of Galway? I don't think so. And the reason is, I've seen that Clint Eastwood movie where he shoots those guys for being mean to his mule. I think people get pretty attached to their donkeys. But if I were going to punch a donkey, I think Galway would be the best place. Francis Barnett also asked Gribbs, I like the idea that Catholics confess their sins and are given a penance and then presumably feel better about themselves. What penances of a secular nature could us faithless beings undergo to ease the guilty feelings associated with our wrongdoings? Francis, let me counter with this. If you are faithless, why are you concerned about wrongdoings? I don't understand the faith it's a language failure. It's a language failure. We don't have the words to talk about these things, right? But believing in right and wrong requires some faith, because there's no physical reality of right and wrong, right? Look at the animal kingdom, and so to believe that these abstract concepts are something that should be atoned for has to require something other than just cold, hard mechanical logic, right? So I would say that penances of a secular nature aren't penances. They're just doing nice things. Well, I mean, I guess they could be. I mean, look at carbon offset. I love it. I love it when a counterculture develops and then takes on all the worst parts of the culture it was trying to counter, right? So like enviro, hippie, whatever, blah blah. Let's leave behind this idea that there's an objective right and wrong, and then we'll buy a bunch of carbon offsets to somehow, like, we'll give money to people and trust that money will go to offset our own carbon footprint, which is in itself an abstract concept that we can't see. Yeah, you're just paying for your sins. It's an indulgence. It's the same thing. So my understanding of Catholicism from a Protestant background is I don't know that you do feel better about yourself. I think you feel that particular sin that you confessed is not going to be the one that damns you to hell, and that's not my thing. So somebody else would be more expert in that matter. But I think in terms of trying to balance your existence, maybe saying like, oh, I feel like I've done some pretty shitty things in my life. Maybe I should do some good things. I think it's not too hard to find some good things to do. I think that there's that almost in every second of every day there is an opportunity to do things that boil down to, I mean, dare I say it, that boil down to loving your neighbor and helping your neighbor. Do I do that? No, I don't do that. I'm a terrible person. But I don't feel that bad about it, I guess. Beard asks, if money were no object, where in the world outside the U.S. would you most like to visit? This is an easy question. I was talking to my wife about this on the drive to D.C. Because I realized what year it was. Back in 2014, I said that I was going. It was the 70th anniversary of D-Day, and I said I am going to be at the 75th anniversary of D-Day. That's where I'm going. Ain't nobody gonna turn me around. So we're driving up to DC, and I'm like, I got to bring this up at some point. Might as well be on this long drive when we're already stressed out. Hey, I'm going to take like a week and go to France next year. Is that cool with you? And, and so after she got the car back on the road, she was like, "You hate France. Why would you want to go there?" And I said, I want to see D-Day. And she was not happy about this plan because that would, of course, leave her here with the kid and a job and all that for however long I was gone. I was like, look, I can fly into, some little airport right next to Normandy International Airport. I'll get out, I'll go to the ceremony, I'll stay overnight in a, foxhole or something from the war, and then I'll fly back. It's going to cost like $500 and I'll be gone 24 hours or something like that. I was just totally laying it on thick. And she was like, yeah, if you can make that happen, sure, do that. So then I was talking to my brother about it, and he travels the world often. And is involved in such things, and he was like, "That's not going to happen. Like you don't even understand what you're talking about." And as someone who doesn't like people, and as someone who especially doesn't like our current president, you should not go to the 75th anniversary of D-Day because, in spite of his performance this Veterans Day and on the centennial of the 1918 armistice, Trump might show up to the D-Day anniversary, and then what do you got, and that's a good point. Like I would rather not see it than see it with Donald Trump there. And also it was just, and he said you have to fly into Paris. There's no way you can fly into anywhere else. And I just don't want to ever fly into Paris. In high school, my class, not me, individually, but my class gave my French teacher a heart attack. And I'm not sorry. She was a terrible person. I couldn't stand her. And everyone hated her. And she knew it. And that's why she had a heart attack. But she was also just the spearhead of this system that forced me to learn French. And I remember nothing about French. Brad and I were just talking about this because that's how we met, in French class. Me and Brad in French class. And we had 2 years of it together, and it was just excruciating. And for some reason, I have never been able to get past it. In college, I took Spanish because it wasn't French. And I was terrible at it. But I don't hate the Spanish language the way that I just can't, like anything French just makes my blood boil because of that terrible experience in high school. And other things as well. But it's just it was the cultural appropriation, and also the ego of like, oh, I know about baguettes because I'm a French teacher in your small town Hickville High School, so I'm better than you. I don't know why. But it was something about, I don't know if I was going through puberty and like the part of my brain that hates authority just turned on in that instant. But so I don't want to fly into Paris and then drive through France to get to D-Day. So I'm going to go some other time. To answer the question, Beard, if I won the lottery, I would charter a boat. I would find a company that could put me in one of those amphibious landing crafts, go across the channel, land on Normandy, to experience it, not to have any sort of, not that I can ever understand what they went through. Land on Normandy, but then I would also like to go through all of the European theater. Pacific theater, not so much, even though that was where my relatives fought. But for some reason, the European theater, probably because I can speak one of the languages, is what I know the most about. And I would really like to see, the Ardennes. I would like to see. I would love to see Berlin. And what is Stalingrad now? I don't know what Stalingrad is called today. I'm so sorry. Now I'm going to have to hang on. Stalingrad is now known as Volgograd because it's on the Volga River, from Nikita Khrushchev's de-Stalinization movement. Surprised it's not called Khrushchevville. Gamecock Piper asks a question that is near and dear to my heart. What is the best external hard drive to back up and store files? Gamecock Piper, the answer is none. You need multiples. Multiples. There is no single one drive that you should depend on. What I do, I have three different hard drive enclosures. I buy the identical three different hard drives. I've got an identical drive in the computer. That's my primary drive, is in the computer. I've always got an enclosure sitting on my desk, and it's backing up every night. And then after every big shoot, I back up that shoot, and then I take that enclosure to the bank, put it in the safe deposit box, bring another one home, back it up. And in my mind, if there aren't three copies of something, it doesn't exist. So whatever you do, make sure that there are multiple redundant backups. In terms of brand, I don't know. I bought it's a Roswell, it's Roswell. It's reverse engineered from the alien crash at Roswell. That's the brand of the enclosure. I think the drives are Seagate. They're nothing special. They're just like basic big ass Seagate hard drives. I used to use Western Digital, but I had a lot of failures. So I moved to Seagate. And I don't worry so much about the speed of the drive. I mean, if I won the lottery, I would have solid state drives and all that. But it backs up while I go to bed. It's not that big of a deal. I have tried the online cloud storage thing, but we're talking about terabytes and terabytes of information here. So there's just the speed is not there. It was going to take like 6 months to get everything up, and I just couldn't. I wasn't on board. Gamecock Piper also asks static or dynamic nativity scenes because it takes a special breed for the latter. Yes, static nativity scenes are my preference. I like the plastic ones that glow at night. Actually, yesterday was my kids' this is a situation, y'all. My kids' preschool Christmas play, and my kid is he's a special kid, and he's a little bit on the spectrum. And things freak him out. And so two of the things that freak him out are people singing in groups and applause. But you know what? We were like, hey, it's your Christmas play. Do it. Let's see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? And then the minute my wife and I got in there, we were like, oh my God, what have we done? Like, oh, this is going to traumatize him for like the next year. He's going to hate us so much. But he did fine. He did fine until the very end when he saw us and was like, get me out of here. His teacher, he's got two teachers, and one of them sat with him on her lap, and he clapped and he sang a little bit, and I couldn't believe it. But the point of the story is that they had a live nativity scene at the preschool, which included a live baby. And I don't know what parent volunteered their baby to be carried around by a bunch of 3-year-olds. It wasn't carried around, but you know what I mean, like surrounded by a bunch of 3-year-olds. No, thank you. That would not have happened to our son when he was a baby. Wouldn't happen to him now if we didn't have state mandated public education coming up soon. And so, I mean, we got to throw him into the wolves a little bit so he can, deal with the rest of his educational life. But I think I've got a cold today. He gets a cold like every week. Children are monsters, man. They really are. And I would never be like, yeah, my baby can go up in that horde of monsters, and you can use him for a prop. That's fine. Whatever. So I'm filling up my phone's memory solely with this antisocial. So we're going to have to speed things up. Of course, I'm answering 2 weeks worth of questions here because I skipped most of the questions when I was in D.C. Robert Dixon, Ask Gribbs, CNN said 3,400 calories is the average American Thanksgiving. How is the diet going? Funny you should ask. It's going. It is. And I don't talk about it much, and I don't want to talk about it much. I'm keeping quiet about it, even though I have not kept quiet about it in the past. It is going. It is going, and I have seen some moderate success. And that's all I'll say for now. There's a lot going on in here about it. We'll move on. I'm so surprised that the average American only eats 3,400 calories on Thanksgiving. I would imagine it would be 5,000. So speaking of my kid, A couple of videos ago, I told you about the lady on the escalator that tucked his derotational strap into between his legs because she was afraid it was going to get sucked into the elevator and he would get all chewed up. That's an urban legend. It doesn't happen. Ziggy Num Num says, there's an escalator at my work and I get an incident report at least twice a week about a kid getting a shoelace stuck and sustaining injury. Ziggy Num Nums, I'm surprised that you would so blatantly out yourself as a CIA agent from Botswana selling this sort of disinformation crap on my channel. A3006 says, according to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, there were 24 escalator-related deaths in the U.S. from 1992 to 2003, 16 from fall. Okay, wait a minute. All right. In the U.S., 300 million people between 92 and 2003, so that's freaking 11 years. There's 24 deaths, 16 are from falls, like falling off the top of the escalator. So that means only 8 people were chewed up by an escalator and turned into meatballs underneath the escalator where the witches are down there stirring the cauldrons, right? So, I mean, that's a risk I'm willing to take, I think. I mean, you'd be more likely to get struck by lightning. Average number of injuries requiring an ER visit per year was 5,800. I'm just going to pretend I didn't hear that. A3006 also posted a really interesting fact sheet about about Pop-Tarts, and I did not know that in 2001 the U.S. military dropped 2.4 million Pop-Tarts in Afghanistan during the United States war in Afghanistan. So why do they still hate us? John Galdieri, hashtag AskGribs, what is your dream vacation? Or is it wrong to not want to take a vacation if you consider staying at home and not having any family responsibilities of vacation? Right, okay. So here we go. First, I would have to really know that I don't have any family responsibilities. Like I would have to, like other people, my wife's family would have to come into town and help her with the kid for me to actually be able to relax on this vacation. Then I want to win the lottery, right? And what I'm going to do with that money is I'm going to buy a piece of wilderness way the hell out in Montana, Idaho, Vancouver Island, somewhere like that. And because I won the lottery, I can just give all my buddies like enough money that they don't have to work anymore in the rest of their lives. And we're going to go, and we don't even have to stay that long. We stay a couple of weeks. We're going to go up in the woods. We're going to build a cabin. Okay, maybe a month. I mean, it might take a month to build a cabin. And we're going to have some really nice rifles. And we're going to target shoot. And we're going to have some really nice scotch. I tried Glenlivet Nadura over my Thanksgiving trip. Are you familiar with this, Derek Tant? Nadura? It's huge. So anyway, we're going to go up in this cabin. We're going to shoot. We're going to fish. We're going to hunt. We're going to wrestle bears. That's the plan. That would be my ideal vacation. Oh, and I get a good camera. And I get, while we're just dreaming here, I get an audience for the pictures. Because I shoot all these pictures, and I don't have no one really wants to see pictures of like, shit I do in the woods, right? So no one looks, but I still shoot them. So I would like to have, I don't even need a good camera. I just need disposable, like I need to have enough money that if I drop my camera in the river and it gets eaten by a whale shark next to the trout that I'm fishing for, then, I could just pull another camera out of the bag and keep shooting. I would need like a Wi-Fi capable card that can work underwater. But I won the lottery. I can totally afford that. It's a good thing that I pre-record these because I think it's going to take the rest of the day to render all this video and put. I've been having some serious technical difficulties lately, y'all, rendering video, and it's just driving me insane. But we're going to get this one out for Sunday morning. It's going to be December 2nd. We're almost at the holidays. I'm so excited. And I hope you are too. Thank you for watching. I got a lot of good stuff planned, man. I hope that I get to do half of what I've got planned. Keep the ends out for the ties that bind.